What's the most ridiculous rule in your place of work? No accusing other staff members of being witches. Yeah, it happened, so we had to make a rule. I run a hostel in Uganda. We can't ask others if they want to come grab a coffee in the break room. All recreational activity is forbidden on company time and resources, except fantasy football. I once needed a pen. Figured this was a reasonable ask. Went to the supply closet on my floor, which was locked. Asked the floor's admin. She told me to go to the main supply room in the basement. Went to the basement and explained my situation of needing a pen. They told me all requests for supplies must be approved by my department head. Problem is, being new, I'd never met my department head. She also worked in San Francisco, I worked in Milwaukee, so I needed to send an email both introducing myself and asking her if I had permission to get a pen from the supply closet. 2 weeks after I left my previous job, a memo went round saying people aren't allowed to look out of the windows at work anymore. It's a big ass glass building. Edit. To answer those that have been asking, it's not American Express. Eyes shifting. I used to work for a large bank. We had an attendance policy that was so complicated it actually created an incentive for employees to take an entire day off rather than be tardy too often. All the extra toilet paper in the building has to stay in a single closet where it can be overseen by the toilet paper queen. I heard her shrieking the other day when she discovered someone had hoarded one spare roll of toilet paper upstairs so the people who work upstairs wouldn't have to walk down multiple flights of stairs when the toilet paper ran out. Edit. It's the cheapest one-ply toilet paper available on the giant rolls that only fit in the special dispensers. I can't imagine anyone wanting to steal it. I used to work for Amazon in Ireland and their toilet breaks were crazy. Maximum of 10 minutes a day but also a max of 20 minutes per week. You had to change the status on your computer so everything was recorded and some managers would call you out on it and even go as far as threaten your job. I had an understanding with my manager and told him if I need to take it then I'm going for it. Like any good manager, he just told me that as long as I give him the numbers he wants then I could do what I want. Edit. This has seriously blown up, so I thought I had to add that I was treated with great respect while working there and thoroughly enjoyed the experience. I can't speak for other employees in the business but I have heard the stories. Incidentally, I now work in construction where someone isn't looking over your shoulder and checking every minute of every day. If you haven't seen the great movie Office Space, watch it. Describes my situation perfectly. To answer your other question, my manager was looking for performance numbers. I was the one looking for 1s and 2s. A rule that said if you have time to lean, you have time to clean, which fairly obviously meant if there was no work then you should be cleaning things. It was at an aircraft servicing station that was fairly small, but we needed a crew of at least 3 people for larger planes. The problem was that sometimes there were just no planes, so there was no work. We would clean for a couple hours and then just run out of stuff to clean. But according to management, that was no good. We had to be busy. It got to be that we would fight over work when it came in because everyone was so bored, and finding pretend busy work was much harder than just working. I remember getting the crew together to pick up pebbles off the taxiway for a couple hours. There's an old joke in aviation, go sweep the taxiway. So we actually did it. We have a lock on the first aid kits, so if you just need a band-aid for a cut, you have to get the key from the safety guy, which in turn makes it a reportable accident with mountains of paperwork and investigations. We use an unbelievable amount of duct tape now. I drive valet. The company handbook says you're never allowed to back up, ever. You absolutely cannot do the job without reverse. It's impossible. It's in there because of liability and our insurance policy. This way it can always be the valet's fault if an accident occurs ever. Edit. Perhaps this will answer the most repeated question. If the rule says no reverse, yet you're expected to park a car, then how can you park the car? Answer. Never hit anything. And always reverse despite the rules. Expect to be fired should you hit anything in reverse. But probably not. The rule only exists to cover the company's ass. But if they don't feel threatened by you working there and you're an asset, you still will not be fired. And yes, many people are questioning the legality of it, and you're right. It wouldn't hold up in courts. but it's in the handbook and it's silly, so I posted it. When I was in the military I saw a buddy of mine sitting outside crying. I went and consoled him best as I could. Apparently he was just depressed and unhappy. After he was feeling a bit better I went to go and find someone to tell them what was happening. They knew. In fact, he had been crying so much lately that they had instituted a no crying at your desk policy, which is why he was outside. If you are 1 minute late it is a tardy. If you take a half day nothing goes on your record. I was told to just take a half day if you are going to be late because they straight up fire you for tardies. Also if you clock out early it is a tardy. If you have to go to the doctor on lunch break and it is going to take an hour and 10 min. Take the rest of the day off. Weird. I don't know if it's standard, but I worked at a place where HR wasn't allowed to tell us if someone was fired. It was a big enough place that you might not immediately realize someone had left, and when you found out, you weren't supposed to ask why. So, if you wanted to know if they were fired, you asked, was there cake? Which was to say that, if the person had retired or left pleasantly after a number of years, they would be given a party with cake. If they were fired, not so much. I haven't seen Brian for some time. Brian is no longer with us. Brian no longer works here. Was there cake? Edit. Clarifying that Brian is alive in this scenario, except for below where I said he was dead for karma. Fireman. Our risk management department decided long ago that poles were too risky for us, so we use the stairs. We have poles. Anyway, now the newest rule is no free weights, darters in no free weights to work out. Stay fit. Go into burning high rise absolutely. Walk around the station carrying 40-pound dumbbells. Too risky. Empty inbox. My boss was an inbox Nazi. Like if you had old emails in there he would flip and make you respond to them or delete them. Apparently you shouldn't have anything left at the end of the day. Deal with them or delete them. Jokes on him though. I just made a subfolder marked personal and everything went in there. Get ducked, Bill, you old wanker. There was an issue where there was too much socializing going on the factory floor, particularly when people were working while sitting down. False, skewed supervisor perception. So they made everybody stand. When that presented ergonomics problems, they brought in these weird chairs that made you sit at a slant, had no backs, and no wheels, so they wouldn't cause distractions. No part of it made any sense. My workplace doesn't let you use the word problems. Instead, we have to say challenges if something is wrong, as a problem is a negative word, and challenges promotes the fact that there is room to fix said problem. I used to work for the now long defunct books, movies, and music store Media Play. Just one of the 285 reasons that poorly run business ran into the ground was the tardy attendance policy. If you were literally 1 second late clocking in, even hours before the store opened, it was a really big deal. You'd not only be formally written up, but lectured like a child, oftentimes berated even. If you were tardy 3 times, bye bye. However, if you no-showed and then called 2 hours later saying you were sick or say okay, thank you, feel better. This trained everyone to just take a sick day instead of being half a second late to work. I can't tell you how many times you'd see a co-worker screeching into the parking lot before work after fighting traffic from a wreck or whatever, noticing it was 8:01, and then slowly driving off to go home and feign being sick. This was particularly upsetting when it was a pull down stock week when we needed every hand on deck but had unusually early shifts. Once worked at a place where some minimus decided that since UPS trucks don't turn left, we shouldn't either. And I don't know or care how well that worked out for UPS, but this was a goddamned ambulance company with a 911 contract. I will turn left if and when I ducking need to turn left. And edit. Follow up. I don't know if UPS trucks turn left or not, or if that is beneficial for them or not. And frankly I don't care. The point is that Minimus thought they did, and that was the reasoning he gave. He was an idiot. I did not stay there long. Full stop. I used to work at a place in which my boss implemented a no more than 2 glasses a day water policy. What a cunt. I ignored this rule and complained directly to our CEO, and the matter ended later that day. What was weird though was the majority of people actually followed the rule, and some even shopped me up to HR about breaking the rules. I left not long after that because not only was my boss a bellend, but if my colleagues were going to HR over me drinking water, then I obviously couldn't trust them. Can't have my hands in my pockets. Business casual dress code even when I work at home. They Skype me to check. Old job of mine in a warehouse. Our stations were pretty far apart, so when we listened to music we'd all usually have our own stuff playing. Not a problem since you could barely hear the neighbor's music. Well, the CEO didn't like hearing multiple songs when walking through the warehouse. He made a rule that we all either had to listen to the same music, or none at all. No lunch bathroom break in a 12-hour shift. Retail pharmacist here. I eat pee on the run. Many years ago I was a vacuum cleaner salesman. There were songs about this particular brand of vacuum cleaner and how awesome it was. Every morning, we had to sing these songs as a group. In fairness, it was a pretty quality item. Edit. It was Kirby. Didn't mean to be subversive. Just didn't think anybody would care. I worked as a call receiver. We never saw a customer. We were only on the phones with them. Rule: your hair must only be a natural color. I dyed my hair the same exact color that someone from a different shift had. I was reprimanded. I told them that if the rule is not enforced for everyone, they couldn't single me out. Their reasoning for letting the other person have that color but not me. Mine was my real hair, dyed an unnatural color. Hers was a weave that could be changed very easily. Really? Then why hasn't she been asked to change her hair? Because that it is expensive. They gave up trying to convince me they were in the right. If we want to take a full 5-day week off we need to use 2 vacation days, 1 personal, and 2 more vacation days. Can never use 3 vacation days straight. More than do not put half-used sweeteners back in the sweeter tray. Throw them away. I work with adults. At my old job, HR held a meeting to tell us that there was too much swearing on the sales floor. Someone raised their hand and pointed out that swearing is very common in our industry and that is the way that our customers speak. HR later sent out a memo explaining that swearing should be limited to conversations with clients. It was amazing. My dad told me this one a while back. He used to work for a PR firm. The way he described the office environment. Think The Office but in the 1980s. The company hired a corporate efficiency specialist to come in and improve things. She came in and implemented all kinds of rules, which seemed to follow some sort of caste system. Her philosophy was, the higher your office rank, the more perks you get. Her idea of perks: number of pictures you are allowed in your cubicle, whether you are allowed to have a potted plant or not. Coffee mugs were only allowed to senior employees. Others had to use paper cups. Being allowed to leave the office for lunch was also considered a perk. Needless to say, a coup soon followed, and she was tossed out on her hinny. I work in retail and we have on-call shifts. Your name will be listed on the schedule for a certain time as a call-in. So you have to call 1 hour before your shift to figure out if they need you to work for the day. For example, you would be listed as on call for 2 PM and wouldn't know until 1 PM if you were working that evening. If you don't call in, it's considered not showing up for a shift, but there's no extra pay for the shift whether they need you or not. So for 3 days of the week, I don't know if I have to work or not. Can't make any solid plans to do anything except call my work and ask if they need me. I can't imagine having children or elderly that need taking care of because it would be such a hassle to arrange care for them just an hour before having to work. Edit. Okay folks, I get it. You want me to sue this corporate demon. I'm looking into it now and will update with any relevant developments. I'm going to dig up my contract tomorrow and see if I can speak to a lawperson. Thanks for motivating me. Old workplace had assigned desk location for various things like phone and stapler. You were also only allowed 2 personal items on your desk. I was written up BC. I brought my own red stapler and it didn't fit in between the lines put on the desk. It's not like this anymore. But for a while they attempted to have a dress code. Guys had to wear collared shirts, but Hawaiian style shirts were totally acceptable. You could not wear jean shorts, but jean overall shorts were okay. I got sent home one day because my shorts weren't fingertip length. We were tech support. No one ever saw us. That was the best part. Edit. Because everyone is asking. Fingertip length meant standing with your arms at your sides. And your shorts had to be longer than where your fingertips ended. Think grade school rules. This handbook can be changed, without notice, at the company's discretion. So, medical leave? 3 days medical leave per year. Fine. I'll use my PTO and expect to get disability for the remaining time. After I have major surgery. An addendum. 2 weeks later. Medical leave for surgery must have written documentation from a doctor outlining your recovery schedule and when you may return to work. When I return. On a limited schedule. 6 weeks later. The HR manager comes into my office. You didn't have the authorization letter before surgery, so you better be here or face the unfortunate circumstance of disciplinary action. While I'm at it, since I'm under contract for 5 years, does anybody know about the legal definition of peonage? Edit. The specific text of the disclaimer is this handbook is subject to change without prior notice and at management's discretion. If you are stuck in traffic on the way to work, you must email the CEO. Phone calls and texts are not permitted. Only email. Had a workplace time our bathroom breaks and deduct them from our allotted 15-minute breaks or lunch. We had to go see the office manager to get a key to open the restroom. As soon as we left his office he would start a timer. When you got back he would stop the timer and tell you how much time you needed to deduct from your lunch or next break. They watched our breaks like a hawk. Also, if you made a mistake they would stand over you and time you while you fixed it and deduct that from your lunch or breaks. You couldn't bring anything that smells for lunch and they had no way of heating anything up. I worked out my contract and split. Not my current job, but I used to work for some crazy people. You had to stand in a specific area while eating so they could see you on the camera. Don't talk to customers longer than 3 minutes unless you're making a big sale. Even then, keep it short. Answer the phone within 2 rings. Keep the conversation to less than 30 seconds. You can't talk to your co-workers outside of work. You can't talk to your co-workers while at work. Even if there was not a single customer in the store. I'm sure there's more I just can't think of right now. Our workplace started a friendly post-it war with the office across the street that went on for about half a day. Honestly, all of the pictures were safe. Just Metroid Samus, Mario, images, super basic stuff. The pieces were getting pretty good too and it was clear both offices were having a blast thinking of the next fun design. Our CEO walked by around 4 PM that day, saw the post-it art, and asked what it was. We exclaimed, "Oh, just a post-it war with that office. Would you like to join us in the next mural?" She said she didn't get it. She didn't get the concept of the post-it war. So, we spent a few minutes trying to explain what it was about. You make art out of post-it notes, and whoever has the best mural wins. Pretty simple stuff. She kind of laughed it off, but it was clear to all of us that she still didn't quite understand why someone would do it. What a silly millennial thing, she must have thought. The next morning, an office memo was on every desk saying that no one was allowed to put post-its on windows. We had to take all of our art down. When we asked the office manager WTF we did wrong, she explained that the CEO quite literally still didn't understand it and banned post-its for that reason. Edit. This happened days before Christmas last year. The holiday party was that evening. The next day, Friday, nearly everyone was out to start their vacations. It was very clear that we were not interrupting a busy work day by spending lunch making a few murals. We are not some band of idiots that can't understand the meaning of a productive work day. Our CEO was just a straight up Grinch. Men can't wear shorts. However, women can wear dresses and skirts. What the duck do they think? We are all walking around with monster dongs that would hang out at the bottom of our shorts. It's hot and I want to wear shorts. The VP of our company just held a mass meeting to tell all of us we can't have pictures or plants or food or any form of non-office supplied object on our desk. Tons of co-workers have family pictures or their kids' finger paintings pinned up on the cubicle walls. All that has to be removed. People were pissed. Former job. You couldn't eat at your desk. The team managers, however, were pretty tolerant. On a hot day they would sometimes even hand out popsicles. The regulation people, who were especially in charge on the weekends, when no team managers were around, were very strict with this. A colleague of mine was shouted at because she ate a small pretzel, which was her breakfast. Then again, some colleagues would casually eat a whole pizza or kebab while making a huge mess. We can't personalize our workspace. There are no nameplates on anyone's workstation either. No pictures, no mementos, nothing but work stuff. It is bad enough we are jammed into an open floor plan and have to spend many hours at our desks, but then to deny us the ability to make it more enjoyable? Petty. I'm a lifeguard and not allowed to use a whistle. Edit. Woo first 1k because my bosses are twats. Previous job, given a tablet and a locker. Had to look for a desk to sit on every morning. Stupid. Caused unnecessary friction. Waste of time. Inefficient. And many occupied the same desk every day anyway. They piled junks on their desks so no one else dared to sit. Once my manager had mental breakdown. He hid another floor away from us. It was ridiculous having to walk that far to get to him multiple times a day. I work from home. On Tuesdays the gardener and maid are here, so I have to wear pants. I wrote the ridiculous coffee making rules for my workplace, but I had my reasons. I was a woman on the edge. The coffee was unbearable and every time it was bad I would have a parade of people through my office complaining and a deluge of emails wasting my time. So I wrote a guide, rules, if you will, on how to use the extremely simple drip coffee maker in our break room. I emailed them to everyone. I put 2 copies in the break room, one of them in the cupboard where the ground coffee was kept. I went through it with people who didn't understand. Minutes of everyone's time was wasted. No improvement. Endless complaints to me. More of my time wasted. By this point I was fed up of even hearing the word coffee. The sound of the coffee maker caused me to flinch. So I ordered pre-packaged coffee grounds to take the measurement difficulty out of the equation. How can you get that wrong? I thought, naively, on the first day of what I was sure would be the new world, a coffee nirvana. I went to the coffee machine with high expectations. The senior partner had beaten me to it. She had put 4 sachets of coffee into the machine and added enough water to make 6 cups of coffee. The first mouthful nearly killed us. I went over it again with her and returned to my office, confident that this was a one-time problem. After lunch I went back to try and get a cup of coffee. My expectations were not so high. I witnessed another senior partner carefully opening the sachet of grounds and reach for a teaspoon. She carefully spooned out a quarter of the sachet into the machine, filled the machine with enough water for 12 cups and triumphantly threw the rest of the sachet away. I waited. We tasted it together. She was appalled. She had no idea why it was so weak. I started a new pot, slowly filling with despair as it brewed. I couldn't shake one thought. I work for a doctor's surgery. These people prescribe. I went back to my office. I ordered a giant container of respectable instant coffee and a padlock. I keep the ground coffee locked in my desk. I brew 4 pots a day. This takes less time than the complaints. And on my day off they make do with instant. We have a kettle. People are welcome to bring their own filter coffee and do with it what they will. Until someone can be trusted to make a pot of coffee which is not so awful as to inspire 8 people to email me multiple times a day. Each one of them hitting reply all to create a small email firestorm in my inbox. This is the way things have to be. I work for the federal government so there are tons and tons of rules. Most of them are there for good reasons. The one I really hate, though, is that we have to pay to join the water cooler club to use the water cooler. It's like $30 every month or 2. Like, I get it. Taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook for extravagant purchases and there are certain perks you get in the private sector that you don't get in the public sector, and vice versa. I just don't think it's the height of decadence to want decent water. They say we can just use the fountains, but the fountains are disgusting. This isn't the local post office either. This is a major department's main building in DC. I'm a teacher, so I have a million stupid rules I have to follow. But the worst one is that my performance evaluation is based on student improvement on the STEM literacy test. I teach woodshop. Former job at a law office. One of the partners sent an email to the entire staff that employees were not allowed to gossip in the building. What was everyone gossiping about, you ask? Oh. Said partner was divorcing his wife and sleeping with one of the associate attorneys in the firm. But, don't gossip.